This is episode 3 of English Voiceover in Asia. I am your host, Yui Haruhara, and today's guest is one of the first people I contacted for information when I started my YouTube channel, Ward E. Sexton. Ward has done work in Japan and presently works in America. Gamers may recognize him for roles such as Stun the Insect in Bloody Roar 4, Ernest Baldwin in Silent Hill 2, and the famous title screen call in Resident Evil. But his resume goes way beyond video games. He's been doing this kind of work for over 3 decades and counting, having thousands of jobs and roles under his belt, including commercials and documentaries. We first got in touch for my first ever Doraemon video. Ward sang songs and was the voice of Jayon and Suneo for the English educational OVA's Early English with Doraemon, a set of VHS tapes released in Japan decades ago. I reached out to him to see if he wanted to do an interview, and he agreed. Sometimes it really is as easy as reaching out. Did you know there is a second English dub of Porco Rosso recorded in Japan that predates Disney's version with Michael Keaton? Online, there's barely any info about it, but during our discussion, Ward just randomly mentioned he worked on that dub and went into detail about it. Stay tuned for that. Without further delay, here's my interview with Ward E. Sexton. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, my name is Ward Sexton. I've been a professional voiceover for 35 years now. I hate to say that, but there it is. 35 years. It's actually been very, very good to me. And I live. How do I just keep on going? Yui? Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
My mom was Japanese. I was born in Fukuoka, Japan. That's the southernmost island of Japan, Fukuoka Island. Kyushu Island in the city of Fukuoka. Apparently there was American Air Force base there, and that Air Force base is where I was born. It's now the Fukuoka Airport. So the town and everything is gone. I was born there. Lucky actually, because my mom was actually from Saga Prefecture, which is the next prefecture over from Fukuoka. And it's close. It's in between Nagasaki, where they dropped the atomic bomb, the second one, and Fukuoka. And so my mom was 70 miles away from the atomic bomb that was dropped in the second bomb. So I'm lucky to be alive, I guess, in a way. She's lucky to be alive, and I'm lucky to be alive. So, yeah.
Where do you live now?
I live now in Phoenix, Arizona. Actually not recent anymore. It's been 3 years, but yeah, originally I lived in LA before, and moved over here mostly for our son's education. There's a good school system here in Chandler, Arizona, and great baseball. He's a very good baseball player. So
wonderful.
This is where it's at for him. So yeah, it's not real happy with the summers here.
Yeah.
I mean, people think, God, it was 100 degrees. It was 95 plus today. And over here it's like, yeah, well, gosh, from June on, I mean, it's no day. If we get to 100, that's super cool for us. It's just, you don't have to shovel sunshine in the winter. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everyone. I visited Cali over the summer. Ohio definitely does not have dry heat, and everyone said, yeah, Cali's a dry heat. Got told that several times.
Yeah,
I'm like, tolerable.
Sure. It's that I am not into humidity, but still, I remember Ohio summer, but it was not as bad as we moved. I moved from Ohio to Georgia after that, Augusta, Georgia.
Really?
And that heat was awful.
Yeah,
I mean, that
hear.
humidity is really awful. Yeah, it's worse than Ohio for sure. I know you got the lake there, Lake Erie and all that, but still, you're in Columbus, so it's not as. Yeah. I don't know, maybe not as bad. I don't know.
Cleveland's definitely colder.
Yeah, and because you have snow there. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
I remember the snow. I remember Uncle Bill chewing a 10-cent bag of popcorn, but yeah, it was. And then we moved to Georgia, and the summer, that's when I really got into Little League and all that. And boy, that humidity was terrible. Then when we moved to Texas, we drove across Texas, and it was in the summer, and went through Louisiana. Then a whole new humidity thing came in, because I didn't. Boy, just passing through, I hated it. So it was a real thing. But you know what? Tokyo's in the summers, the heat there in Tokyo itself is unbearable, because really there's no. It's that what I forgot the word for it. There's the concrete. There's that phenomenon that everything, the heat is held in. So even if it says 90 degrees, it's probably more like 100 degrees, just because of the concrete, right? Because everything's radiating out of the concrete. Plus, all the subways there are emitting hot air from the air conditioning systems for the subways, right? So they have all these vents that are just, all this hot air is pouring out into the streets, and it's just hot. I swear, you'll shower and then walk out the door. I'd shower. I used to I was in the habit of showering, actually bathing, morning and night in Tokyo, especially in the summer. And then I would, get ready to go to the studio, walk out the front door, and literally by the time I got to the bottom of the stairs, the entrance had a stairway of 10, 11 steps. And by the time I got to the street level, I was drenched in sweat. I promise you, it was just and I hardly sweat here in Arizona. So I don't know. That's probably age now, but it was horrible. I do not like Japanese summers at all.
What got you into acting?
Actually, I was working as a copywriter in an agency, very large agency in Tokyo. And I was an English copywriter. And the creative people kept coming over and asking me could I read something for them out loud? And after a couple of those, I'd go to a studio to do it. And I thought, yeah. And I had done some DJ work in college at University of Oregon, just very little, but
okay.
It was very nerve-wracking. I didn't like it a lot, because like anybody, I hated hearing my voice when when you speak on a microphone and you hear it come out of the speakers. It doesn't sound anything like you think you sound like. Yeah. So it's like, kind of thing. So I was not thrilled with that, But they kept asking me into Japan to do these presentations and stuff that they were doing, and at one time there was a freelance voiceover at the studio that they were using, and I talked to him, and he said, I asked him, what do you earn doing this? Because he kept asking me, what did you are you getting paid to do this? I said, no, I worked there as a copywriter, and they just asked me to do this stuff. So he goes, yeah, you should do that. You should work for, and of course for him, it's like, well, they should be paying me to be doing this, right? Instead of getting you to do it for free. So I asked him what he was making, and he told me, and I thought, oh, geez, this is not right. So, and as far as I was concerned, I didn't think I had a great voice or anything like that, but I didn't think he himself had a real spectacular voice either. So if he could make that as a freelancer, I thought maybe I should try. If people kept asking me to do it. And so I started. I actually literally quit my copywriting job, my well-paying copywriting job, to start doing voiceovers. And I was lucky. I was there at the right time with when Japan was, doing all kinds of overseas promotions, right? Overseas being, and most of the languages were, of course, was English, because even though they would, instead of making some projects would involve, making Spanish, Thai, French, whatever. Huh. But sometimes but almost always, even with the multilingual kind of thing, you'd always have English on top of that, right? And then there's some companies who would just only do English and hope that the rest of Europe can understand English. So it'll be a Japanese version of it and an English version of it. So yeah, that's how I started. And so I really didn't think about it. I never, I always thought of, I think, paid attention to voiceover so much, just, newscasters, radio people, and that kind of thing. So I never equated myself. I've always loved to sing. I shouldn't say that. I always loved singers, as a lot of people do, most people do. And I've always thought that, I grew up in an age where Elvis Presley to the Beatles and, Stones, and I did my share of singing in the bath, the shower, that kind of thing. having my mother and father tell me to shut up, that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, so I'm not a good singer, that kind of thing. So yeah, so I never, again, I never really considered voice acting. It's funny because when I think back about it, I'm not exactly stupid, but all those voices they had for the Disney productions and things like that, I never even wondered what it was about. And then when you said acting, it wasn't even really about acting. When I first did voiceover, I mostly did corporate things, right? Corporate presentations in manufacturing, for manufacturing. In fact, my very first jobs were reading instruction manuals for copy machines. How to service a copy machine. So it's really X Y to O P Q, and there's no acting involved at all. So I didn't even know if I could do that. But so that was funny too, because the first time I did that was really bad because the guy did not have a studio. I went, and this is in Tokyo, so I'm sitting, and I couldn't make heads or tails. And the scripts were literally anywhere from 50 to 120 pages each.
Oh my!
So I would sit there one sitting and just go through the whole thing, right?
Right.
But because it wasn't a real studio, they'd have this microphone on the coffee table, and I'd sit on a sofa reading these scripts, and oh, truck just went by. Oh, let's do it again. It was just over and over. And this is Tokyo. Have you been to Tokyo?
I wish.
Even if you just looked at pictures of it, there's traffic all the time. So,
yeah.
I mean, people, yes, mostly riding trains and stuff, but I mean, there's traffic on the roads all the time. So it was, if it was a 100-page script, I literally probably read it 1,000 pages, one sitting. But, before I knew it, just doing that kind of stuff, I was making, I don't know, at least as much as I made as a copywriter in a couple of months. And then I thought, man, if I keep this up, maybe I'll be able to, make more. And sure enough, I made more in 4 or 5 months. And then by the end of the year, anyway, in a couple of years, I was doing 7 figures. So it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's incredible.
But again, it was a lot of timing. I was also a voice they hadn't heard before. So there was literally 5 to 10 guys who were doing most of the work in all of Japan. And before 2 or 3 years passed, I was doing more by myself than the rest of the 5 to 10 guys were doing a combination. So all added up, I still was doing more than they were. So at one point in time, there's a place called Tesco that I'm not sure if it still does that, but they would store all the videos done in Japan there. So it's a big, like a Library of Congress kind of thing. It's not that big, but when you go there, one Canadian director I knew said, "Ward, I went there, and I swear to you, a third of the videos are you, man." So, I was very lucky, and in a lot of ways, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way too, but pretty soon, I would start doing movie trailers, and it was all a training, on-the-job training, basically, for me.
Huh.
And I didn't know if I could act, but I tried to act. But going back, when I was in high school, I had done, I was a junior Toastmaster. I don't know if you know what Toastmasters are, but Toastmasters is a public speaking kind of, it still goes on today, all over the world, actually. So I was a Toastmaster, and of the 7 speeches contest that I had entered, I won them all.
Wow.
And so I had some background. So something I did was what worked, but what worked, I really didn't know. And until this day, I don't know. In fact, I'm having a hard time knowing what to do nowadays, because you can get to that later, but it's a different world now. They want a different read. And
Right.
so I'm not, yeah. So yeah, that's a different story. But back then, perfect timing for me. I went to Japan, almost forced to go. I was born there, but I went back just to kind of explore my roots a little bit. I did not
Okay.
speak Japanese when I went. Yeah, I did not speak Japanese at all. I was lucky. I was very lucky. Continued to be lucky. That was in 19. I went there in 1980. I started doing voiceover in 1984 or so, 83 or 4,
Okay.
and till 2000, 2011 when I came back here. So yeah, from that time to 2011, I made a very good living. I had Porsches, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it was just it was all because of the timing, I think. And I would love to say it was my skills and my wonderful artistic presentations and all, and a lot of people did say that. They were kind, but I don't know. I really don't know. I never really studied it. I have this voice, I guess, that people even hear say a lot about. It hurts me right now, by the way, because I guess it's a little too low and a little bit too resonant, and it keeps me out of a lot of markets because it used to be the thing, So yeah, like you said, yeah. So, but it's again, I'm still doing it. I still love it, and I still learn every day. Yeah, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, there's a lot of voice actors I know and talk to. They got their start on stage acting. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Those are the guys those I think that's probably the best way to go.
right.
I really do. I've never been a stage actor. So, yeah, I'm not, I actually am too shy to be a stage actor. In fact, that's why I like voiceover, because I'm in my booth and
Right.
I can see people. I can see people through I like the audience. I like the small audience, but it's easier now than when I had a small audience on the other side of the window here, so that I could perform. So I did get that way eventually, but in the old days, at the beginning, I was not that way. I preferred not to be seen. I loved the fact that sometimes they didn't have any windows in the booths, and I would just be there all by lonesome and just did my thing. And then when I walked out, they go, "Oh, wonderful," and then it was, or not wonderful, whatever. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So you said you were a copywriter?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I don't know, because I hate writing. Yeah, it's funny. In school, the thing that I hated more than anything was writing. None of the rules made sense to me. I mean, why are there such rules? I mean, I think it prevents creative writing when you have to remember all these rules. And actually, that's proven out later, because I knew a guy that was a director, producer, who wrote wonderfully, beautifully, and he was a terrible speller, didn't know how to punctuate. It was awful, but his scripts, once I would get his scripts and I'd fix it up that way, so I know how to read it. They read wonderfully, and that's something I always admired. I've always admired good writers. Great, I love to read. But I get so, wow, God, these guys can write, amazing. That would always kind of intimidate me, and I realized I'm not such a great writer. But as it turns out, I guess I wrote pretty good copy. Copywriting and the kind of writing I admire is totally different. I mean, you get rid of the adverbs and don't overuse adjectives, and it's a very clean and efficient process. And you want to get a message across. And I guess I can organize my thoughts well enough so that I can put it, into copy. So I did pretty well that way. And when I got to Japan, that's basically what happened. The reason I became a copywriter is because you had a choice of either being an English teacher, which I also did, and a copywriter. So I went to a friend of mine at the modeling agency. I ended up being helped in the office, basically. It was learning Japanese that way, too. The Japanese owner was there. He was my friend. And so one of the guys I knew there said, my friend is the head of the copy department, and he needs a copywriter. A proofreader, copy editor first. And I thought, that might be a good deal. So I went there because I was okay with English, right? I didn't have to write, but I could correct people's writing. So I did that for a while. Then they realized I could write, or they were actually in a pinch when the other writers couldn't handle the load. And they said, Ward, can you write this? I go, I really don't know, but I'll give it a shot. And apparently I did well. And they changed me to a copywriter. And that's how I started out.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of synchronicity out there. And
Yeah.
I believe in that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because I talked to Eric a couple weeks ago, Eric Kelso, and he said,
Yeah.
he went to Japan and ended up being an English teacher.
We all do. We all
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Yeah, he said didn't know a lick of Japanese.
Eric is the next guy. He, in fact, when I had to, a lot of people, because I was so well known in Japan, production companies go, Ward, we got this project, can you line up 10 voices or 20 voices and that kind of thing. So I did that. In fact, I'm not sure if you know, it's Porco. It was Tanizaki, Junichiro Tanizaki. Do you know who that is?
Name definitely rings a bell.
He's the guy that does all those. In fact, that you see, let's see, what is that? Shoot. In fact, his animations are real popular. Princess Mononoke.
Oh, okay, so Ghibli stuff.
Yeah, the Ghibli stuff. Yeah, Studio Ghibli.
I had a brain fart. I'm working on a Ghibli video right now. Kiki's Delivery Service by Miyazaki.
Oh yeah, Kiki's. Yeah, this new delivery service. I'm trying to remember the
Porco Rosso?
Yeah. So in fact, I know all the people at Ghibli, and
really?
I did Princess Mononoke, and I actually did the English. One of the Porco movie is the pigs can't fly thing.
Yeah.
That movie, I did the English version, the whole thing. I casted it, I scripted it, everything. And I never will do that again. And, oh God, it's horrible. Plus I had a big fight because they basically they used it for videos here and didn't give me any credit for it.
I'm pulling up there's a dubbing Wikia, and a lot of info about the dub you worked on is unknown. Like, there's no sound studio listed. There's no director listed.
Exactly.
Yeah, it says right here, most of the cast is unknown, though several minor characters are known to have been voiced by Barry. How do you say that last name? Gjerde? Yeah.
Barry Gjerde. Yeah. Yeah, Barry was in there. Eric was in there. Eric was actually in there too, I think.
Yeah, because I see Patrick Harlan, Lynn Eve Harris.
Yeah, they wouldn't even take our names. And plus, I'm in the studio, so it's up to me just to do everything. So as long as I come up with all the recordings and mark the recordings well, they don't care who did it. It's even to this day. There's some horror stories, and that's one of the reasons why I ended up not. Every country, I don't care in this industry, in any industry, I'm sure, but. From what I know, right, in my industry, it happens everywhere and in different ways, forums and stuff like that. But you get a version of it somewhere.
Yeah.
But 99.9%, it was a great experience, good experience. Those are just a couple of small negative things that happened. They weren't small to me at that time, but
yeah,
in retrospect and in the overall view, it was very small. So I'm very, very. I think all in all, I would have to say that Japan's way fairer to the people that work for them than most other countries, because those are really special kind of things, and you're going to get those kind of things in Japan. But
just out of sheer curiosity, have you heard the Porco Rosso dub by Disney?
What did you say? Porco Rosso by Disney?
Yeah, 2004 they redubbed it.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear that. It's got to be good. In fact, I told them back then that I can get bodies and I can get voices, but they're not going to be good. And there's a woman named Shelley in there who helped me a whole bunch. And Shelley's husband, still married to Mike Shane, who's president of Disney in Japan at that time.
Okay.
and she was a Broadway actress and very, very good. So she helped a lot. But again, we both did our best, but you're not, you don't have a choice of, hey, I'm going to pick from 100 people, I'm going to pick 20 pros. And because you don't, you might have 20 people and in there may be 0 or 1 pro, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So then you have to coach the non-pros as best you can. And so it's not going to, and plus the scripting was not good. I mean, I wrote scripts wrote them as best I could, but Miyazaki, who I never met, who never got there, but he would get the script and he would say, "This isn't what I said," or "This isn't what I meant."
Right.
And then Studio Ghibli would just say, "Change it," and you'd go, "But," it doesn't work in Japanese. I mean, in English, and like the famous line from that movie is, "A pig who can't fly is not a pig." And there's supposed to be more nuance or something to that in Japanese, and probably there's some kind of cultural thing about pigs in Japanese, which I don't know, but it just doesn't work. I mean, like they're saying this is this huge, impactful piece of copy that just does not work in English, and there's a lot of that with Miyazaki stuff. So
Yeah.
so it's very difficult, and I get it, but it's because the reverse is also true, obviously. So yeah, it's hard to and plus they set it up so that you never get to talk to the person directly.
So I've got looking
So
through work questions, and we've answered a lot of them.
yeah,
What is the casting process like over in Japan?
you know what? This is going to sound really arrogant, and I don't mean it to be because that's not what it is. But I pretty much, and I think Eric and Jerry will tell. Well, Jerry's kind of in the same boat actually, but Eric isn't, or wasn't, I should say. But I didn't have anything casted. I was in a position where I never auditioned. Period.
Okay.
And they would just call me and say, "Can you work? And this is how much we can pay, and then this is the schedule." And I'd say yes or no. And so, I was a known commodity in Japan, and so I was very, very, very lucky that way, and I'm very grateful for that. But the casting process in Japan, from what I understand, is that there is one particular place called, I forget. Her name is Inagawa-san. Inagawa Momoko, I think.
Okay.
Motoko Inagawa. And she specialized in having foreign talent. I think Eric was probably in that too, but Jerry wasn't, I'm pretty sure. But most of the people, the foreigners, the expats who would come to Japan would generally sign up there, and because she was known for having expat talent there, they would call her and she'd line it up. So that was basically it. And for models and stuff, people like that, it's more like the States. But for voiceover, not so much. So usually a director would call, or a producer would call a producer he knew or something like that, and say, or even the studio, "Do you know anybody who can design?" That kind of thing.
Okay.
And then the other thing was me. They'd call me after a while because, they'd call me and they said, "Do you know?" And I'd go, "Eric," I'd go, Jerry Sorrells. In fact, I don't know if Eric probably doesn't realize how many times I have thrown his name out there, because nobody would say, I just did. I mean, if they needed a Spanish-speaking guy, I'd get Spanish, and I can get the French-speaking guy. Always with the caveat was always, I do not know if this friend of mine who speaks Spanish fluently, who is from Spain, but he could be Basque, he could be someone with a heavy accent over there. I have no idea,
Right.
but I do know he's fluent in Spanish. So
Yeah.
that was the only thing. That's why I was scared. That's why I didn't go into the business of that, because especially French and especially Spanish, French especially. I mean, a lot of Canadians did French narrations over there, and if you send it to France, they would get very peeved at it because Canadian French is not French to them, right?
Yes.
So it was hard. It was hard doing that as a business. I never got into that. I could have easily done that, but I didn't do that. So the casting process is usually that. With the Doraemon thing, Jerry was the star on that to me, and Sorrells, and I don't, they called me, and I just said no, I don't do it. I don't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I turned it down a lot, several times. And they kept asking me, and I kept wondering, why would they want me to come in there? I don't fit any of those voices to me. Then so I finally said yes, just because they were so, actually Jerry, I think, almost convinced me. And then I used to hardly ever catch colds or anything like that, or flus, and I did. And my voice was horrible. So I was supposed to be doing Giant. Did do Giant. I don't remember. I was supposed to be doing.
You were Giant and Suneo.
Yeah, I was supposed to do a lot more actually, but I couldn't fake it at all. And Giant to me, I mean, they kept saying yeah, and I'm going I wasn't happy at all, and not with them. I felt really bad for them. I hate doing work when I'm not 100%. And I offered to redo everything when I got better. But for now, do this and get some timing, and I'm sure there'll be some retakes and stuff like that. And if that happens, then I'll do everything. And I still do that. I'm still that way. I can't stand it. I mean, when deadlines are deadlines, and I'll do it. And sometimes, in Japan, they'll go with their deadlines, especially in Japan, I should say. And so, yeah, it didn't sit well with me when you said Doraemon, because not because of them. That was the staff. The people were great. The product itself, I have no problems with. I just was not in my, I wasn't my A. It wasn't even my C game. It was so bad.
Yeah, you sounded sick.
Yeah, I was really sick, and not only that, with that sick voice, they literally wanted me to sing.
Yeah.
What? And I'm not, and that's another thing. If they said I was going to sing, I would have definitely turned it down. So I have no real recollections of that so much. They also didn't use a really great studio, or I should say, it was a studio called ADR or something like that, and that's all they basically did. So equipment-wise, wasn't good. I mean, nowadays with all the digital technology, I think they could have made me sound a little better, but back then it was not. And I was almost surprised. I said, "This is what I sound like. I mean, I can't do this," and they would, that kind of thing. So it's still a mystery to me to this day that I could easily redo it for them. I even redo it now if that's what they want. But. Yeah, if they asked me, I would, But and I've been for free. By the way, that's just the way. That's always I've been that way. But that sounded bad. Oof.
So I'm assuming that wasn't you singing like the ABCs and all that.
I did sing those things.
Okay, you did sing those. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they used it because They did send me the video, but I never. I don't have it any longer, and plus, I don't have a VHS player anymore, so.
What's your favorite project you've worked on?
My favorite, I read that and I thought, you know what, I don't really know. Biohazard or Resident Evil this year wasn't my favorite because it almost ruined my voice trying to do that. They really made me scream into the mic, Biohazard, that kind.
Yeah.
And they also had me do for 10 versions. In other words, Biohazard 0 through 10, or that's 11 actually. So I did them all at once. And then I had to do the Resident Evil version of that.
Yeah.
And I got paid well for that, but work-wise, it really tore my throat up that day.
Oh my gosh.
Fun-wise, gosh, I don't know. I always enjoyed doing movie trailers because I was pretty much the only movie trailer guy there in Japan. And granted, they would take the Hollywood movies, and usually the voiceover was already on there, but usually when they would they couldn't use that a lot of times because of the union here, the SAG-AFTRA here.
Yeah.
So they would have to redo it. Plus, they also changed titles quite a bit. For instance, Resident Evil's Biohazard here, and for instance, a movie that Michael Douglas did a long time ago called The Game. It's just The Game. So you'd think they could use that. No, because in Japan they dropped the. So it's just Game, that kind of thing. So I would get a lot of those. My very first one was called a movie called Angel Heart. And it was my first trailer that I ever done. And I went in, it was Gene Hackman, and I went in there thinking, okay, I'm going to do, they direct me and let's do this, let's do that, la la. And I came up with one that everybody got chills on, I guess. And so that was pretty cool. So I thought, God, I can do trailer, all right, kind of thing. So, yeah, that was fun. But, I literally did over 100,000 jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't really know what's my favorite in there because I literally was running around from studio to studio every day. One day, my worst day, the busiest day was 11 studios in one day.
Oh
my
gosh.
last entrance time was at 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and within that, I had actually got to the studio when they were doing the Japanese part of the video with a Japanese, very famous voiceover, who was a asshole about everything. For instance, I'm not doing that extra bit that you want me to do because you didn't discuss it with our manager and you have to pay me more, kind of thing. So I'm sitting there waiting for mine, looking at my watch because I got to be in another studio, but it's just down the street, but it's in 30 minutes. And I'm not even in the booth yet, and so I had to go to that next one, then come back in between, and then it was hell.
Oh my gosh!
But it was another one of the reasons because they make it so hard for you to turn stuff down. I had a hard time saying I'd say no, but they would not take no for an answer a lot of times. So, we'll do anything. We'll bet. I said, okay, let's do this tomorrow. Is that good? You said you do anything. Let's do this tomorrow. And then go, no, we got the clients coming in. We got this coming in. And I go, oh God, And it's funny because once I became well known, clients would want to meet me, and it was. Which I was very grateful and happy about, but it made it hard a lot of times too. But it actually, once I got to that position, they took my advice all the time, so it got a lot easier after a while. Because before that, it was horrible because I would get home from studio and literally stay up till the sun rose rewriting scripts. They were so bad.
Oh my gosh!
And for a 5-year period, this is when my body broke down on me in 2000. 5-year period there, I literally slept no more than 5 hours for the whole week.
Wow.
Not at night. I would go 2 to 3 days without sleep, zero sleep. And it got to a point where this is crazy, I picked up smoking just to keep myself awake. I would drink coffee, the strongest coffee would not keep me up. It was the worst thing you could do to a body. And then I got AFib, irregular heartbeat. I would pass out later on in the year 2000. It was horrible.
Oh,
so I finally ended up quitting smoking. Every voiceover over there smoked basically. The guys with the great voices. And so I smoked only Japanese cigarettes, and I smoked the very weakest ones. That was my excuse, right? But the very weakest cigarettes, basically, they didn't taste anything like cigarettes. They were just dirty air, So, yeah, and but it was almost just to keep awake, keep alive. And here I am. What I'm saying when I say keep alive, it's so weird because that's not even, if anything, I'm killing myself, right? So yeah, it was pretty horrible. But my best job would be probably movie trailers. You listen to TV, and I was on there for all these one-shot things. In fact, I did this one thing for Meiji, the candy company, or actually milk and everything, but it's a food company. But all I said was open. That's it. That's all I said. Open. I don't know what it means. I think just the package opens up or whatever. And for 10 years, they paid me 15 grand every year, you know, for just saying open. And I mean, it was just a one-time open, but every time they renew it, they paid me 15 grand again, 15 grand again. So that was great. You know? And eventually, after 10 years, they switched to having all these famous people, celebrities in Japan. And each commercial that would feature this particular celebrity would end up saying "open" at the end, and so I was off of it. But yeah, I was the first guy that did that. And they did all these logos in English back then. It's a Sony, you know, that kind of. That's what that
Right.
was me. Panasonic, you know, that was me. Bridgestone, that was me. They're just so, you know. So I became, and in fact, it was funny because you know there was Kyogo means I couldn't do competitors, and I pretty much would do, you know. I paid attention to that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to get anybody mad at me. But you'd have companies go, yeah, we can change your voice just a little bit, and then you know it's okay. We'll use a different name and that kind of thing. You know, we'll just say it sounds like Ward, and it's not you really. You're not going to. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Projects wise, I'm Eric and guys like Jerry and ladies like Jerry would do more anime and that kind of stuff. I've done Bloody Roar.
Yeah.
I've done more actually, but yeah, sometimes they forget to put my name on there. Yeah, a lot of things. In fact, you know, I had a lot of trouble because in most videos when they first started video games, the first time that are you ready? Go. You know what? Almost all the game companies used my voice. It became just the generic voice that everybody used. So it's me a lot of times. And I never got paid for it. Yeah, never got paid for it. But everybody, the studio people would know. They say, hey, Wodo-san, you know, Wodo-san no koi, which means, hey, Ward, they're using your voice, you know. Blah, blah. And I call them, and about 10% of the time, they'd admit it and pay me something, but most of the time they wouldn't. Oh, そんなことない. No, it's not you. It's not you. Wodo-san, 似てるよ. Oh, yeah, the guy we use, I forgot his name, but yeah, he sounded like you. Yeah, right. And most everybody, including Eric or Jerry, would say, yeah, nobody sounds like Ward. I'm not saying that in an egotistic way. It's just, yeah, I have even here in the States, I've got I guess what they call a unique voice range. I'm not sure why. I mean, it's killing me actually because, you know, if you want uniqueness, great, but it hurts me a lot of times because I sound menacing, intimidating, you know, all kinds of things. You know, when I tone it down, it's too toned down. I don't know. I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to find my voice right now, a different voice. Everybody upspeaks now. You know what that is?
Not entirely.
Upspeaking is, for instance, I'm going to pick a script here. Some kind of thing. I can't. Let's see. For instance, this is boring, but you know, today Jane is going to show you how to properly conduct an apartment inspection. Upspeaking. Today, Jane is going to show you how to properly conduct an apartment inspection when a new resident is moving in.
Oh, okay.
And you know why that's happening? It's because YouTube and TikTok and all these places where they have voice and everybody thinks they're a voiceover is making that the norm because everybody speaks that way. So now, and you know what's funny though? This actually happens in Japan. It's happening in Japan too. So it's not just they're not mimicking. It's a natural inclination. It's everything ends like a question almost. And you know, so if it was a movie like Biohazard or you know Resident Evil, they would want Resident Evil or something like that. It's just not. It's not good. In fact, the same people, if you talk to them in private, they don't talk like that. Yet they read their voiceovers that way, and it drives me nuts. I refuse to do that, and up till now. Now I'm trying to get it to be a compromise where I'm kind of close to that, but not really there, and it's a hard place to figure out. But yeah, and voices as deep as mine are now very. And I'm not a bass. I'm a baritone, and so I'm not that deep, but I record deeper than I sound, I think, in person. But because I have higher range as well. But it's tough. It's tough right now. I really have a hard time booking jobs because everybody says the things I said, menacing, intimidating, or I sound too polished, too professional, too broadcaster-like, and they don't want that. It's good. Now together you'll walk through and you don't want to sound like a DJ either anymore. Be sure to look at everything: walls, windows, floors, baseboards, cabinets, lights, even the ceiling. That's not working anymore.
Huh.
So, yeah. This is all I've ever done. So it's 35 years of this. I need to stay, and I still love doing it. So I get animations, a lot of animation, more than Japan here, but for some reason I'm not mailing them because I shouldn't say it that way. What's coming to me are just the agents are just sending whatever, they're sending it out, but they're pushing this. I know this because of another guy that's in the company will tell me that it's more like the agents actually push a younger guy who costs less. I mean, who they can take more of it for him. If I get 10 grand and they get 8 grand, it behooves them to sell the guy that's taking 8 grand for the job because they're still going to get the 10 grand and keep 2 grand. So, and that despite having a union and all that, it doesn't matter anymore. A lot of people work FICOR, which is not union, non-union. And I only stay in union only because I do movie trailers, and movie trailers are definitely union. So, but on the downside of that, they're not doing a lot of voiceover anymore for movie trailers. They're doing just use dialogue in the movies to do that.
Yeah.
So, it's actually a good thing because I would hate to go into a movie theater and listen to 10 trailers when almost everybody sounds like me. And it's wearing on you actually, and it doesn't sound good. Every now and then, but using dialogue is a good thing, I think. But so I have to try to make the decision of dumping the commercials too. You have to go through SAG-AFTRA too. Most commercials, but regional ones you don't really have to. But see, if you break that, I don't know. I'm not involved enough in the Hollywood to know what to do sometimes. And my agents used to be your liaison there, and but they don't do that anymore. They don't care really. Hey, we want 100 voices, but we're only going to use 5 of them, but we need 100 just so they can see our roster has all these people, that kind of thing. And they push the younger guys, the 30-year-olds and all that, which makes sense. Yeah.
I had a question because you mentioned with Resident Evil, you did the title voice. Did you do like all the numbers at once, or did they just call you back and then Resident Evil 4?
I did them all at once.
Really?
Yeah, and I literally, and this is something we don't do here. I literally had to scream it with that voice.
Huh.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like here would be level-wise, it would be just like talking. Basically, it'd be Resident Evil. They really literally went, Resident Evil. That hurts.
Yeah.
And it really does, and I can't. You can't do that for long. Nobody can. And I try to keep my voice basically out in front of my nose with a little bit of head voice in there. And so, I mean, I can go like, for instance, I can get up pretty high. And so I put elements of that into my regular voice, and that's how I talk now. So I can change it. I mean, it's good. Good. Now together you'll walk through the apartment. Good. Now together you'll walk through the apartment. That kind of thing. I can move it around and do all of that, but that voice that they wanted for was horrible. And once I got through all of them, I mean, there was like a lot. And they go, okay, now we're going to do the Resident Evil version. I'm going, Sony got it later. They redid some of the stuff here in the States, which I recognize. I'm not against, because the direction in Japan was horrible. But most of the games, the game centers, and I'm well known for that. Even here, they list me as that, and which actually hurts me because again, they don't want the Resident Evil voice for most videos and most commercials. Oh, he does Resident Evil. Oh, that's too scary. We can't have him on there. So yeah, that doesn't help me in the long run. So
That's too bad.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That was it was such a curiosity because you're featured as the title voice in Resident Evil 4, and that was recorded
right,
in America. So I was,
right.
yeah, I was wondering why that
Well, so
was. And
they go back and forth on that. Yeah, Capcom has the final say so in most cases, but when it becomes Sony Entertainment here and stuff like that, then there's this back and forth there that doesn't go well. I know Kobayashi, Kobayashi's the guy that created it basically really well, really well, and he's adamant that they use me. But
huh.
Sony's in the States, here in the States, wants their own thing going on. So I'm not part of that, so I don't really care. They actually asked me to redo it for them. Then they found out I was in Tokyo, and this is before remote recording was possible. So
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I couldn't do it. So if it came again here, and now that I'm here, I'd redo it for sure. But
Then have to kind of wrap up. So you said you worked for Ghibli?
yeah, oh yeah, Studio Ghibli, yeah, a lot, yeah.
Just out of my own sheer curiosity, have you ever met a man named Shigesato Itoi?
I think I have met the Itoi-san. Yeah,
Mm.
Itoi-san. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. Most of the Ghibli people would show up in the studio. They like to be they were very hands on, except for that the Porco one that I did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they didn't show up at all. But that was the reason for that though is that particular piece was the reason why we were forced to do it was because that movie was going to debut on a Japan Airlines international flight.
Yep.
Yep. And so they needed to do it fast. And I said, you still need to do it in the States. You're not going to get great voices here. You're just not, But thanks to Shelley and Jerry and people like that, it was okay. But the voices were not terrible. It's just the scripting was bad. And I mean, I did the scripting, but it got very changed, transformed to a different animal later. So I had leeway with it in order to fit the pictures. I could change little things, but they didn't want me to change the essence of it.
And that's weird because yeah, Ghibli's always had that approach because within a year they would have an English dub of like My Neighbor Totoro or Kiki's Delivery
Right,
Service. They
right.
used to hire a company named Streamline Pictures, starting with
Uh-huh.
Totoro, and that's in California. So I'm curious why they didn't just
Yeah,
use Streamline for that.
and I told them they should, and yeah, because Totoro was before Porco,
That's correct.
uh,
Yeah, I mean
and
even the dub.
yeah, and they should have done that, but I think it was I don't know, I really don't. I think it was they demanded a really tight schedule, and that I did
Oh,
the whole movie within God, with editing and everything in not even 4 days, 3 4 days.
oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it was really awful. Could not hire
That.
children for the children, so it was Jerry and a girl
Oh my
named Lisa.
gosh.
Lisa Lynn.
Okay.
Lynn. Her name is Lynn. Yeah, Lynn. I forgot her last name. Lynn. I forget. I have her somewhere though. Yeah, Lynn. Even as an adult, she's 6 feet tall. Talks like a 7-year-old. So because we couldn't keep the little kids in the studio all night long, right? Because that's
Right.
when it happened. We were there literally 24 hours a day for 4 days like that. So it
That's
was ridiculous.
absurd.
Yeah, and plus, see, with the states, you have to do everything within union rules, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure what they were demanding was not very union friendly. So because they needed a certain schedule, the whole thing, and so they ended up, toriaizu, which means for now, let's have boards and try to figure it out, kind of thing. So
So
that's what. So it was
okay.
not a fun project. It wasn't a project that I'm proud of. Nothing about it is good. I forgot to mention, I couldn't do all of the directing, so I had Tom Stolberg, who's now in Canada. He still runs event companies. And
Okay.
Tom was really good. He's actually the guy that I told you wrote great scripts and didn't know punctuation or spelling into a lick. But Tom helped me out there, and he more than me is responsible for bringing that to a decent ending at the but yeah, I don't know why They never mentioned it. I think it was mostly having to do with not to streamline, but the union thing, and they didn't have the budget for that or whatever. I don't know. So,
Okay. That would explain it. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because I actually haven't seen Porco Rosso, but I've heard it's good.
I don't know.
Just the actual film, not necessarily the
Yeah,
dub you
I
did.
know what you mean. I think I'm biased because of all the stuff that happened with that.
Yeah.
So I don't look at it as a, I've never watched it as a, just a complete clean with a clean slate. You go, okay, let's watch this movie,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Miyazaki because he's just too weird for me. I like Totoro and I like the movies. Okay, I've never met him, but I've been in the same room as him, and I'll ask a question, and it never gets answered. It never.
Yeah.
Okay, for instance, on Porco, I said, in order to write this script, I would like to know how and why this man became a pig. There's no explanation for it at all. Just all of a sudden, from one scene, that when they're fading back into the past, when he used to be the pilot with his, with the whole thing, and all of a sudden, today he's a pig, and you're going, I just want to know. I mean, I'm not going to write it. I'm not going to put it into the script. I'm not going to explain it. I just want to know for my own sake what Mr. Miyazaki was sitting over there, why he did it. And you could see him literally shrug and just go, Yeah, it's, because the woman of his life, she's a woman. She's not a pig. Yeah, and there's no mystical quality about that particular film that makes it, why is this guy a pig? He's made, and what the thing about that movie is, all the aircraft, all those biplanes and stuff are rendered in perfect detail to the original. So,
yeah, it sounds like him.
Yeah, it went that far. He went to Italy, studied it, got the planes, everything, and it's just amazing. And yet he couldn't explain that to me. And I mean, I just wanted to, even the philosophical. Is there something in his philosophy of life that, something about pigs or what? Men and pigs. I don't know. I just want to know. And nope.
Yeah.
Never got an answer.
That's
cool. Part of his mystique, I guess.
Yeah.
The Studio Ghibli just shrug their shoulder and go, he doesn't know. There's no reason. I went, oh, okay.
Because I'm looking at the Disney dub, and they have Michael Keaton as the main character.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just like they clearly had more than 4 days.
Good actors, really good actors. So, yeah.
Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, higher Ward Sexton for your voiceovers. I can do anything. It's nice to talk to you, man. And I'll look forward to that. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Ward is still active. You can check out his stuff at wardsexton.com. Thank you to Ward for doing this interview, and thank you for listening. If you like what you heard, please be sure to rate this podcast 5 stars and subscribe via your favorite podcast app to know first when an episode is posted. If you want to hear more info about English dubs, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@yuiharuhara. Here's my guest next time on English Voiceover in Asia.
Hi, this is Michael C. Pizzuto.
If you're an actor that has worked in Asia and would like to be a guest on the podcast, please send an email to yuiharuhara@gmail.com. If you are a listener and would like to know when I have upcoming guests, please follow me on Twitter @yuiharuhara or stay tuned to my YouTube community tab. From there, you'll be able to ask guests questions that may be featured in their interview. Until next time, take care.